हरिओम सावित्री जी, हरिओम राजश्री जी, हरिओम राकेश जी, हरिओम 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 भामा जी, हरिओम अरविंद जी, वासुदेवन जी, हरिओम दीप्ति जी, हरिओम सुनीता जी.
Hariram ji.
We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and then we can begin. If anybody has any queries, you are most welcome, or we can just wait for the participants to join.
हरिओम.
हरिओम जी, हरिओम गीता जी, नमस्ते. हरिओम. We had stopped at shloka number 28. We will be continuing from the 29th shloka. Yeah, Hariom. I request all participants who can turn on your video feeds, please do turn on the video feeds. It's much easier to interact that way. Alright, I think we can begin with the invocation. Saraswate Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhe Bhavatu Me Sada Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hariom. Yes, we continue our journey into the 9th adhyaya of the Gita. Can anybody recollect what is it that we have seen last? Yes, please. Anything?
Krishna was talking about the sadhu, the I forgot the name.
Ji. Yes, yes. The yogi or somebody who is balanced, or which is the word you are looking?
Yeah, the yogi.
Okay.
The yogi.
Ji. Yes, Ji. What is it about that we saw?
So Krishna was basically telling about in what I could recall is that he was telling about anyone who's engaging in devotion or any, I mean, even a small leaf or a small flower which is offered with full devotion is accepted by Krishna.
Okay.
And
Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. It was like with the bhakti it's important. What is offered is important. How it is offered, more than the ritual of the act of doing. It is the Shraddha Bhav which is behind the act which matters most to the divine. That was one interesting
and
aspect
also,
that we saw. Yes, please. Ji.
yeah, and also that Krishna said that he's the eternal seed. I mean, we all
Yes.
are running after so many things, but he's the eternal seed.
The
He's
destination.
the friend, he's the guide, he's the
Ji.
destination, he's everything. So
Yes.
he's like the start and the end.
He is the destination. He is the journey. He is the witness. He is the shelter.
Yeah.
He is the well-wisher. So all of that he was saying, and Arjuna didn't have any doubts, isn't it? He was listening quietly. This
Yeah.
time he did not feel like questioning anything. Somewhere inside of him,
Yes.
he was becoming conscious. He was becoming conscious of divine presence. Maybe in his life he was having flashbacks at moments where he's felt the presence, and now he is understanding, yes, there was this witness, there was somebody who was helping me go ahead. Only the form on the outside I may not have recognized, but yes, there was this divine entity which was guiding me. And then Krishna says, this is the destination, I am the seed. It's almost everything. Now then, what happens when you recognize the divine? What is the natural action that comes when we recognize the divine? Yes, anybody? What is the normal action that comes in a human being when the recognition of the divine happens? Anybody? Could you guess that? What is it?
Awesome.
Okay, Vasudenji says, okay, full of awe and you feel this is an awesome. Yes, yes, yes. That is true. And what is that Kriya? What do we do after that when we see the divine entity or when we recognize? Or a moment in life when, yes, divine is there. Our hands automatically come together, is it not? Our hands immediately come together and we feel like, yes, we feel like bowing, we feel like adoring, so much, so many things. So everything, we are just so grateful for whatever. Maybe a smallest of small wishes has got fulfilled. It may not be very big in the scheme of things in the world, but for us it means everything. And that small thing is also getting fulfilled, and you become conscious. Normally, a normal reaction is bowing. So something like that. These yogis who realize it, what do? They offer everything to the divine. Madarpanam, that bhava comes. Krishnarpanam, that is the exact bhava which enters into the person. And he says, Krishna goes on to say, I am the yajna. I am the yajna, I am the ahuti, I am the oshadi, I am the agni, I am the kriya, I am the mantra, I am the fruit of the yajna also, and I am only the offering. Everything it is I. So probably that realization of the divine, the omniscience of the divine is something which is God. And Krishna says it is very simple. He says, offer everything. Because in life, he says, do this. Because 27th one, he is giving a suggestion. Of course, Krishna never gives orders. Krishna never gives orders to Arjuna. He could have given that, under this, I am so strong, so I order you because of the force that I have. No, he does not do that. Or I am so wealthy, I am having such great wealth, so I order you. No, we don't see the order coming from Krishna. That is why there's a dialogue going on and it is extending for so long, because there are no orders from Krishna. So he gives a suggestion here. He gives one advice, like an elder would give an advice. He says, your sacrifice, whatever, yat karoshi, yad ashnasi, yat juhoshi, dadasi yat, yat tapasyasya kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever your tapa you are doing, that is also fine. Even your enjoyments that you are having, offer it to me and go ahead, is what he is saying. So this aspect is there. Why? This is that which will help us become free from karma bandhana. Sometime, imagine you are normally, a person is cranky and that person keeps getting annoyed or in interactions or people are disturbing. Maybe that person tries to offer. His cranky nature also may get transformed, because now he's not going to get annoyed. Krishna, what you are testing me? It's all right. I offer you this my problem also. It's not going to trouble me. One young student who had a lot of anxiety because of exams actually said Krishnarpanam and let go of an anxiety which he'd been carrying from school times. Continuously, that anxiety was troubling the person. He said, oh, it's all right. It's okay. If I have to fail, I will fail, he said. But instead, he did well, and he was the first person from that college to get placed in 2 companies. And this was a very shy introvert who never really had attended any interviews before. But he said, I got the strength only from Krishna. What we can see is offering can actually help us in our acts also, and take out all that is unnecessary, because we are not worrying about the consequences of our, what we can say, fruits. We are just ensuring our act is done in the correct manner. So this is what Krishna is saying. This can help us free from karma bandhana also. Maybe this is the way of coming out of Maya also. The Prakriti's Maya is so strong. If we are having that bhav of arpana to the divine allows. It is something like that. There is a different metaphysical principle at place in the Adhyatmic realm. Many times we do not understand also, but no, sometimes if you look at the story of Dronacharya and his Ekalavya, it's a different Guru-Shishya relation, is it not? Where the Guru does not want to teach the Shishya. The Guru does not want to teach the Shishya. But what has happened here? This Shishya has somehow forced Dronacharya to teach him. Dronacharya did not want to teach him, but the knowledge had to pass because that Arpana Bhav is there completely inside. So from the statue also he could learn. That is how when we do that, even what Prana Pratishtha is also not done, it's alright. A Murti will suddenly become a Vigraha. Even if Prana Pratishtha is not done, if we have that Bhava, we have that Bhava of Arpana, the different rules come in play, and Krishna is saying even karma bandhanas get released, people get released. That is why they say different mantras when you chant, when you offer to the divine. This divine will help you from this. It is that bhava which has, it's like you create a vacuum inside for the descent of the divine inside of you. Otherwise, there is no room for the divine, only Ankar inside of us. And it's like there are different mantras, even for Dattatreya, they say, Atriputro Mahatejo, Dattatreyo Mahamuni, Tasya Smarana Matrena Sarva Papai Pramunchate. Means even thinking, even having the Smarana or becoming conscious of Dattatreya, you will get free from all these bondages. What does that mean? It means that that consciousness is cultivated inside, which will lead you. It's like you are going to be having an inner magnetic compass that's going to direct you in the right direction. What is the right deed for the moment, for that moment? And that is possible only when you are having the surrender to the divine cosmic one, the supreme one. He says you will be free. Your life you will enjoy a free life. And only somebody who is trapped can know the real value of how it is, what is freedom. Somebody who has been in a prison. The moment we realize we are getting trapped by our own vasanas or our own sanskaras or our own desires, that day we will only seek freedom, we will only want to break those shackles. And the simplest way to break these shackles, Krishna says, is that only offer everything. Everything. He says, Yat Karoshi, even the enjoyments also. Enjoy, have an ice cream with what which you like, or have some food which you like, but don't eat it alone. Share it with the divine. Your best moment with your friend, or with your partner, or with some relative, or even with something in life. Why do you want to enjoy it alone? I think Isha Upanishad also says that Ishavasya idam sarvam yat kinchat jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha magrudha kasya sudhanam. Don't steal anybody else's wealth. It all belongs to the divine, so don't try to steal it. Enjoy, share that. Prasada also what you get. Will you eat it alone? There is no fun in eating a prasad alone. It is that is also to be shared. So those moments, all your little moments in life also, they become divine if you offer it to the divine only. And Krishna says that is the way for getting free from the karma bandhana also. So let us go on. We go to the 29th shloka now. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mai te teshu chapyaham. So here we see Krishna says, to all beings I am disposed with equanimity, for towards all I am impartial, bereft of acerbity. But those who can see this with devotion, a holy communion, I reside in them and they dwell in my union. So Krishna says, I am equally present for all. I am not closer to some people and more far away from some people. I am present equally for all, each person. That means none of us can claim to be, no, this person is more closer, I am too far away, or I am such. Many times people have a unnecessary feeling that they are all sinners and they have done a lot of wrong, and they have a lot of guilt which they carry in their head for sometimes no reason why they are carrying it. But that guilt troubles them and they feel they are away from God. Sometimes they feel I have done all these actions, I'm never going to be close to God again. But these are all unnecessary thoughts. Krishna says I am present equally. He is there inside, He is there outside, He is there around, He is in you, He is with you. If you are conscious, that's all. So the aspect is becoming conscious. It's like you need to just open your eyes. That is all that is required. Nothing else. We cannot just close our eyes and say that I wish to see. The moment you open your eyes, vision is possible. Something like that. He says, I am disposed with equanimity towards all. I am impartial, bereft of acerbity. I don't have any partiality for anyone or any special privilege for this person. We have so many organizations offering special memberships. So there's nothing like that in the divine world. All are equally present, equally close from the divine. Krishna says, who can see this with devotion, with Shraddha, who are able to see this Samata Bhava, this oneness everywhere? He says, I reside in them and they dwell in my union. They are with me and I am with them, is what Krishna says. So let us go on. What further he says? अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते मामनन्यभाक् साधुरेव समन्तव्यः सम्यक् व्यवसितो हि सः. Even the most evil amongst men can transform be, when with love and soul they turn towards me. For when his adverse nature and will he has conquered, that changed being, even as a saint, may be considered. So Krishna says this, that even the most evil ones, even the worst of the worst person, even that person can be transformed when with love and full bhakti, full shraddha, the person has just turned towards the divine. Have you seen this? Why do you think there are these punishments given to prisoners? No, even for the worst prison sentence, sometimes they are given life terms. Some people serve 2 life terms and all. Why are they not hanged immediately? What is there in our judicial system that gives them the punishment of being in jail for so many years? What do you think is the reason? Anybody?
We may give some.
Realization?
Yes, Dr. Pushpaji. Yes, please.
We may give some time for them to realize their.
Yes, a chance is given. The criminal system, yes, the prison is also for what reason? It is for recognizing that a chance to realize. And then some of them become very reformed after that also. Then sometimes their terms are reduced also. The sentences are reduced because of very good behavior of the convict, and then the person slowly, and many sometimes get all, not all become worst only. Many get a chance to transform, and here Krishna says on the Adhyatmic Marga, even the most worst person can become transformed when the person turns with Shraddha towards the divine. It is all, Shraddha is so important that even Mara Mara becomes Rama 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 in the chanting, because the bhava has been done, leaves are falling, and that is all that matters. Yes, please, Pushpaji wants to add something.
Valmiki is the
Great example. Ji, is it not? Yes, dacoit to great Maharshi Valmiki, who is considered most sacred. Indeed, indeed. Yes, Pushpaji. Deepti ji, we're adding something.
No, I was also saying the realization is the cause that
Yes,
they
yes.
are given the chance.
Yes, yes, and that is what divine says. Anybody who gets the realization can become transformed, and when that transformation happens, there's only going to be a full change. Even all sanskaras of past can be erased completely also with Shraddha, with Bhakti. Sometimes people do very wrong in the state of wrong moments, and then they do this prayashchit. That prayashchit has to come from the individual, not by somebody else. That person feels it and it starts happening, he can cleanse off. That is why sadhana is to be done. They say you can even change all the actions of previous time also with sadhana. The most angry person can become most polite, and whatever. People sometimes wonder, who is this person now? Is this the same person? This is a different person, I don't know. How can you say it is the same person? Because everybody is born with a particular swabhava. If you can change that swabhava for the better, take what is good in that swabhava and eliminate what is wrong, well, you are a yogi. That's what this shloka says. He says, for when his adverse nature and will he has conquered, that changed being, even as a saint, may be considered. Means the adverse nature. So in our nature, we have some good natures also. In our swabhava, there are some bad natures also. We say we don't, they say follow your nature, but in that don't follow the bad nature. There is a bandhu also, there is a ripu also, enemy also, friend also. So let go of the enemy inside. So our adverse nature, somebody who is going to get angry all the time, his biggest enemy is the anger. If that person can, control his anger, then that is a great achievement. That is the siddhi of the individual, and he can be considered as a saint, is what Krishna is saying. Transforming your adverse. Well, sometimes people are very lazy. They don't feel like doing work only. Now this person has to do sadhana, and with sadhana he can take out the laziness out of that individual, and somebody who brings that out, again that person can become like a saint. This is what Krishna is saying, and it can be transformed also. Any person can be transformed, provided the inner will is there, and that is what probably why one must engage in sadhana. When you control your mind, control your thoughts, control your behavior, you become conscious. There's a word by Ramdas Swami. He says, Mati mandate sadhana yogya hoti. He is the guru of Shivaji Maharaj, Chhatrapati Shivaji of Maharashtra. So, who laid the foundation of Swarajya. His guru says, through these manache shloka or shlokas for the mind, by training, even those who are not having, the even intellectually deficient ones can become worthy of doing the greatest jnana yogi tapasyas also. That transformation can take place. So he goes on. This transformation comes when probably that bending takes place, when that arpana happens, when that consciousness rises in that individual. And it is very simple. We saw how Totakacharya was born. This was a child in the Gurukul who was not known to be very intelligent. People called him a little bit less intelligent person only. But his Shraddha was so pure. Whatever he wanted to learn, he would try to, repeat what the other brilliant children in the Gurukul would do. But he didn't have that capacity, but he had that strong will. And suddenly that grace started working, and we do the mantra also, is it not? Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langayate girim. That's the power. That is the power of Krupa. That's the power of grace. But for Krupa also, it is like you have to bend. Then only the hand will come to bless. Without that, how is that going to happen? That is what offer to the divine, and then the transformation takes place. And when the transformation happens, everything can change. Up can become down, and anything black can become white, white can become black. Any kind of transformation, we cannot say that is the power of the Krupa, and ant can also become elephant. We cannot say what is the difference. But there are the conditions, certain conditions that have to be established. Ahankar must be completely evaporated from its seed. Let us go on. Shipram bhavati dharmatma. क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शश्वच्छान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति. So again, this is another promise Krishna is saying. Na me bhaktah pranashyati. It's a promise of Krishna. He says, what happens once that thing starts? Then there's going to be a change. And this is not going to be just an ordinary change. It's going to be a rapid change. Exponential transformation takes place, is what Krishna says. His soul then gets purified with a divine haste, and in my ethereal peace he shall then awake. The most disturbed person who's lost everything in their life, also suddenly that person can find the peace. Outer circumstances may not have changed, but something on the inside has changed, and that person is now at peace. He is able to find that all the troubles that he was carrying in his life also can evaporate suddenly with that realization. His soul then gets purified with a divine haste, and in my ethereal peace he shall then awake. O Arjuna, this promise to all my lovers I make. Your love for me shall not go waste. This is the promise of the lover, the beloved Sri Krishna. He says that your love for me, it will not go waste. And that is something. Pure love never goes waste. It just gets transformed. It is divine. It is too divine to be returned by some individual. It is something which is perfect. It is selfless. It is always one directional only. And when it is pure, it is not going to go waste. It just comes back some way or the other. And Krishna tells the same thing. He says it does not go waste. Surrender is what he is indicating. He goes on further. Mam hi partha व्यपाश्रित्य येऽपि स्युः पापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्राः तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम्. And anywhere Krishna is saying, anywhere that person may be present. If you see, we are all fortunate. We can do Gita Adhyaya, we can do a study Adhyayan of the Gita, we can read scriptures, we can read books. Why? Because we don't have those troubles. Right now, if we were in some place at war, what will be our situation? Nothing. We'll have to be worrying about what food we have, what shelter, where we can get shelter, or how we can feed our own family members. Like that, some people are in a constant state of war because that is the state of poverty in so many places in the world. Where are they going to get the chance? This is the question which we logically ask. But Krishna says, no. Anywhere, any place, sometimes people are mistreated, people are declared outcasts also. Anybody, wherever the person is what Krishna is saying. That person is also equally capable. That person can rise. He says, O Arjuna, all those who seek refuge in me, even if in a womb of sin born they may be, the wretchedly ostracized, downtrodden, men, women, they all attain to me. To their sincere cause I hearken. He says, anybody, just any place, Draupadi can say in the middle of the hall also and surrounded by all the people who are now against dharma. At that time she can call Krishna and Krishna's presence can be felt for her. The inner surrender is there, and Krishna is saying the same thing. All who seek refuge in me, these people, even if they are in a very difficult position, they can attain to me, is what he says, because their calls I listen. Kim punar brahmanaha punya bhakta rajarshayasthatha anityam asukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. What then to speak of the Brahma seeker? Because here he has talked about he talked about people who are in a place where they are not able to have any atmosphere, or they are not able to seek the divine, or they have in such a abject poverty, or they have been ostracized, they have been discriminated against, they have been left aside. Sometimes villages would shun people. Anywhere a person is like that, fortunately we have that rules now which will prevent any such atrocities from taking place. But Krishna is saying anywhere they can, their calls I shall listen, he says. Kim punarbrahmanaha punya bhakta rajarshayasthatha anityam sukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. What then to speak of the Brahma seeker and the most devoted sages, regal and fine? This transient and sorrowful world's every dweller can channel their love to seek the divine. So Krishna is saying, what then to speak of the Brahma seekers? It's like, yes, roses can grow outside definitely, in some other place also, but in the nursery, what to speak about nursery? When people are there looking after properly, it will definitely blossom very easily. That is exactly what Krishna is saying. What to speak of that person who is seeking the Brahma? He is the Brahmin who is seeking the Brahmic realization. Any individual or these yogis who have already attained. What about them? He says, if even in the worst situation, people can realize the divine, what about the people who are not in that situation? There also, everywhere is what Krishna is saying. Their love can be channeled. And then comes the beautiful shloka. This shloka is going to be repeated again. We will see this again later on in the Gita. It will actually be coming at a different time. 75% of the shloka is going to remain the same. Only 25% difference, but the entire meaning would have changed because the situation then and situation now is going to be different. It's still going to have similar meaning, but it will be a different meaning. We'll just remember this, and probably when it comes again, we will see. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi yuktvaivam atmanam matparayanah. Says, sacrifice unto me. Unite with me through your mind. Myself supreme, you shall know, experience and find. He's saying sacrifice everything with full bhava, enter into that state of bhakti. He's saying, Mam Namaskuru is what Krishna has told. For the first time, he's telling this not for Krishna's sake. Krishna is getting nothing. He's like a catalyst. In a chemical reaction, catalyst has no role to play only, except hasten the process. Catalyst remains unchanged from the beginning to the end. But the reactant is now suddenly converted at divine speed into the product because of the presence of the catalyst. So all we have to know is we have to identify our catalysts in our life, recognize is what Krishna is saying. Mam Namaskuru is what he is asking. So bow to Krishna is what he is saying. Sacrifice unto me, unite with me through your mind. Myself supreme, you shall know, experience and find. Bowing to me and with love when me alone you adore. Then for the divine union, you shall open the door, is what Krishna is saying. You are going to open the door for the divine to come in. Have you heard of this phrase, Atithi Devo Bhava? What is the meaning of that?
Guest is guest is
The girl.
like a god. Is the
Yes.
god.
So what do we do to the guests? Yes, Bhamaji is saying something. Okay, Deepti ji. Yes, please. Anybody?
We welcome them. We welcome the guest. I mean, treat them nicely, offer them good food, and whatever we're preparing for them also, it's like with full focus.
Well, full
Like
focus.
it
Yes.
should like it. Or it's for them. It's purely for them. Not doing anything for us,
Okay.
but we are purely doing everything for them.
And how do the guests enter our home? From where do they come?
From the door.
From
Through the door.
through the door only. No? So you have to open the door, or the Atithi has to open the door?
No, no, no. We have to
We have
open
to open the door. So he
Yeah.
cannot barge in. No, the guest cannot come in on its own unless you open the door. And here our Deva is only waiting as Atithi, and he is outside our door. We are only not opening the door for the divine. He is knocking, he is ringing the bell, he is calling, and no, we say, no, not now, I'm busy. So this aspect, when we do Mam Namaskuru, Krishna is saying, you are going to open the door for me to enter and watch what's going to happen after I enter your life. Just see, many times people say life can be divided who have studied Gita. They say my life can be divided into pre-Gita and post-Gita. Because here there was no Krishna for me, now Krishna is there, now life is completely changed. Same things, I have had certain financial problems, I have had emotional problems. I won't say they all evaporated. They say, but something is there and I can always, my life can be easily divided into two periods. Before Gita entered into my life in everyday life and afterwards. So there is something Krishna can do, but unless we open the door, how will Krishna come inside? Our Atithi will wait, he'll ring, he'll call the bell, he'll call us by our name, he'll sometimes request, please open the door. What will we do then? If we don't open, after a while he'll say, all right, I'll go to the next home. Somebody is waiting for me. It's not that I don't have any place to go. And he moves away. So we do not lose that chance. The Atithi is there. Let us open the door is what we can probably think from this Adhyay. One more aspect of this Adhyay which was very good was this aspect that he says, Name Bhaktaha Pranashyati. This is a realization of many people as well. It is that love for the divine, that bhakti does not go waste. It is he has done that. It is why people give so many adorations. Why do people are not fools that they go on worshipping the divine. They are also having same eyes like we only. They cannot see infrared, ultraviolet, and suddenly. But that sakshatkar is there. That is why there is bhakti. Even in this age and this, we say we are so modern. Who says bhakti is old fashioned? Bhakti is also modern. Bhakti is the same. It has not evolved yet. It is there, present in its same perfection because it cannot be updated more. Every software needs a regular update, but this is there which has been going on. So this aspect we see somewhere Krishna is talking about bhakti, he is talking about the importance of Shraddha, and this is Rajavidya. There is nothing greater than that. And sometimes we wonder, is this the secret? I think many times the secret is nothing. It's like, what is the secret ingredient in a particular? There is no secret ingredient at all. It is just X. Because somebody feels there is a secret ingredient, they feel that is much more special. But initially, it is something which is very simple. It is something which is open. It's like many times in life they say you want to hide something from someone, just keep it in the front of the person. The person will not see it because what something which is important is going to be hidden. So they will go, they'll search, they might break your lockers also searching for it, they'll go elsewhere. But and there's nothing there. But what they are searching for is right in front. Something like an open secret which nobody wants to see. That is what bhakti is, and that is the biggest Rajavidya of life. Yes, realize that the presence of the divine. Divine is present in front of us. This particular shloka we can just remember. So when we come again to this shloka, you will be able to remind me. The 34th shloka of the 9th adhyay. Probably you can tell me the difference in Arjuna's case. What was now, what is now, and what will be then. That time you can tell me this is the difference. Because 75% of the shloka is going to be the same words. Yet the context is going to change, the scenario and the paristhiti of it is going to be completely different. With this, we are ready to enter into what is the next adhyay. We will be entering into the 10th adhyay. Before that, I'll just share the illustration and then we can start. Yes, please. Can someone describe this illustration for me? Yes, please. Anybody? What do you see in this illustration? It's a vector art. What do you see there? Yes, please.
There's a face of a looks like a face of a woman.
Okay.
Um, and I can see there's a highlight on the lips. That means it's more related to the speech.
Okay. All right, Dipti ji, if you want to add something, anybody wants to add further?
Then there are some flowers around the
Okay,
brain or the head part,
okay. There are flowers. All right.
which could be like related to the memory or the subconscious mind.
Okay.
I don't understand the significance of the bird here.
Okay. All right. Okay, Deepti ji. I think that's quite some nice inferences have been drawn. Yes, please. Anybody else would like to add to what Deepti ji said?
Uh,
Yes, please.
uh, it it is like a stage of pleasure,
It is like okay,
a blissful state.
blissful state. I can say, which is pure, is it not? There's a difference
Yes,
between
it,
pleasure and ananda. What we can say, ananda is
Anand.
yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And what is it? Is it in connection with nature, or we don't see anything
Yes,
natural in it? It
it is
is
connected with nature
all right.
and its internal happiness.
Yes, and we see a feminine figure, is it not?
Yes,
Something in nature or nature itself is called Prakriti, which is Strilingi only, is it not? Feminine. In our Sanatan Dharma also, divine feminine is described, Prakriti. So here, okay, yes, I think we have quite like identified,
And for the bird, if I think, because the bird is flying
yeah,
freely, so it for me
yes,
it signifies freedom.
okay, yes, Ji. So kind of freedom is also visible here. So yes, and now if you look at the tagline below, it says the best qualities in nature are feminine. They are glory, eloquence of speech, sharpness of memory, wisdom, and forgiveness. All of these have Sanskrit words which have a feminine gender only. It is. We will come to them. Smriti is memory. It is Vani. All of that. We'll just come back to that when that comes in. There's a shloka connected to this. What we see, if you see the title, it talks about recognizing the divine in nature. So probably, yes, divine is there, but divine we cannot see. We can see nature, and in nature, probably if we can recognize the divine, we may be able to get some glimpse. Again, one more Upanishad I often keep quoting, the Isha Upanishad. It's one a very sweet Upanishad. There also, the yogis talk about give me that strength. Yatte kalyanatamam tatte pashyami. They say, give me that strength to see in nature the beauty of you, your reflection in all that is brilliant, all that is pure, and all that is perfect in nature. So that's one of the first realizations that they seek from the divine is let me recognize in all that is brilliant. So maybe in nature we can recognize the divine or divine's presence because maybe we are not able to directly have that vision of the divine, but it is okay. We can draw. If you see, there are so many mantras. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita. Namastasya, 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 Namo Nama. Oh Devi, I see you in manifesting as Shakti, and that is why I bow to you. Among people, Sarva Bhuteshu, among all the people, I recognize the divine when I see the force of Shakti. That is what, then in Shanti also, in Lajja also, in Trishna also, so many forms. So why this? They recognize because goddess is not able to directly be visible, but the qualities of the goddess are visible. You can understand. So through qualities also worshipping the divine. In Sri Aurobindo Ashram, if you see the symbol of the mother, there are petals. There are petals of a flower, and each has a different color also. And there are two rings of petals. The first has four. So the four are Ma Lakshmi, Ma Saraswati, Ma Kali, Maheshwari. The four petals. And on the outer, like there are 12. So each of them is representing a particular quality. Each has one is peace, one is so many. Each, if you just look at, and it is given signified by a color. And what do the sadhaks do? They meditate upon that color. They meditate upon that quality to bring that quality in manifestation in their personality. Somebody who is angry, that person would want to go and cultivate shanti. So in their dhyana, they are going to try to imbibe and recognize the presence of goddess. Or they even just call goddess, please grant me this quality. Give me that. Hey Mata, give me that strength. Give me that strength to be peaceful. Or give me power. I am feeling weak. So this is the sadhana I want to do. This is what I want to cultivate inside of me. Because the divine, though not directly visible, can be perceived through qualities. That is one thing. So we can see the representative of the divine is what we probably can identify in nature. So let us see how this is connected with this adhyay. We enter into what is the 10th adhyay of the Gita. Krishna is still speaking. That means Arjuna has no questions yet. He is now a different Arjuna. I won't dare to ask anybody to give him marks now. He is now a sadhak. Now I think we'll have to stop that of how many marks Arjuna can get, because now Arjuna is almost becoming the great yogi Arjuna, as Krishna told him. It's interesting, Krishna wants Arjuna to be a yogi and engage in the world. Tasmad yogi bhavarjuna, yoga yukto bhavarjuna. That means yogis are not meant only for Himalayas. Yogis are going to come, they're going to come into the field. We are seeing them in politics also now. Well, why not? In our workplace also, we'll need yogis everywhere. Maybe modern yogis may be wearing a different apparel. But yogis are going to be coming, that is the truth. And Krishna also wants yogis to be active everywhere. They'll be like, terrorists have sleeper cells. But when Krishna wants, his sleeper cells are already active all across the world. The day the summoning is there, they all start functioning for the divine will. Only this is for a greater cause of Loka Sangraha, betterment of the world. It's a great motivation if one can have that, as we have seen before as well. Let us see. Krishna goes on. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhuya eva mahabaho shrudu me paramam vachaha yatteham priyamanaya vakshami hitakamyaya. Shri Krishna spoke, listen, listen to the word supreme that I shall now say, for I will part the divine wisdom to you in this way. They shall certainly lead to your soul's betterment. As your heart is receiving my words with merriment. So Krishna is giving bonus to Arjuna. Many times employees get bonus because their works are good. So they want to cultivate that good nature. Something inside of Arjuna. Arjuna is now for a change. He is very silent. But he is not silent because he is not agreeing. He is silent because he is enjoying and he is grasping. Krishna is probably able to read that in Arjuna's face. And he says, see, I'll tell you more. He says, listen, I will tell you the words through my words. He says, through my words, I am going to transfer that consciousness. I am going to transfer that great high consciousness, is what Krishna says. And he says, this will lead to your betterment. And your heart, I can see your heart is enjoying what you are receiving, is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. He goes on further. He gives the most exclusive secret which even the yogis don't know. He tells him, Name veduhu suraganaha prabhavam na maharshayaha ahamadirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvasha. Neither the mighty sages nor the gods know my transcendental origins many aeons ago, for I am myself the cause and the origin of every god, sage and his kin. So he says all the sages don't know because they are not conscious, and I was there even before all the rishis were born. So they don't know my entire origin, not the transcendental nature, how it was before, so many years before. Because I am the origin only. Only I know my Ugam. You cannot claim to know my Ugam unless you become one with me or become me. So here he says, these yogis also don't know. He goes on. यो माम जमनादिम च वेति लोक महेश्वरम असम्मूढ़ः समर्थ्येषु सर्व पापैः pramuchyate. Again, the freedom, the liberation, the moksha. He says, he who knows that I am beginningless, the overlord of all worlds and peoples, I am birthless, free of delusion, the mortal world he inhabits, and falls not prey to evil's sinful gambits. Somebody who realizes that I am there, the divine is existing, God is, that is a very big realization. If somebody gets that, but they are going to be free. Sarva papai pramuchyate is said. All the sins get obliterated from that person's life. Because you become conscious, is it not? The moment you are conscious of the divine, would you do anything? The best example for this is, I think, in our factory, our founder Damliji installed CCTV cameras. And I added a little bit extra story that CCTV cameras can record your conversations also to the staff. Now, these are women in the village. We don't really pressurize them to do work, but many times we had observed when we are not watching and suddenly they would lie down or relax and go just rest because nobody is watching. Now, the moment they know CCTV cameras are there, we have not, we've never, now it's been so many years, we have never said, why are you doing this or what is this? But we have seen a great improvement in their production, a great improvement in their functioning because they know AI is watching. And they even had asked the camera person also to add to that rumor that voice also is recorded. So they become very silent also. They talk only when the work is over in the factory, outside of the factory, because they think, yes, It is being watched. Now, whether or not they find out, maybe by now it's been so many years, they might have found out also that maybe voice is not going there. But they are conscious, and the moment they become conscious, they'll not do anything wrong. And of course, many times my founder also has a habit of calling, "What are you up to? Why is this person doing this work? What work is going on?" So they know they are being watched. Something like that. When you are having the smaran of the divine, when you become the conscious, become conscious of the divine, you will not allow your lower nature to take control of you. The problem is we giving the sanction. It is not that people say, "No, no, I don't know what happened." You exactly know what happened. You allowed that lower nature to control you. That is what we must not allow. That is why sadhana is essential. We say, yes, it is all right, humans make mistakes. But this is humans make mistake is a beautiful cloak to hide behind. People use that to continue all the wrong that they are doing. Instead, why not? Why be human? Be divine. Remove the bad aspects of human nature and you will become divine. That is all. Man, how does man become divine? Whom do we call divine? We say somebody who is an excellent human being, we say is divine, is it not? Who is not having human nature only. Then why do we want this be human? We don't want to be human, we want to go higher than that because that is where we will be at peace. We will allow people around us also to be at peace because that is what sadhana is for. And Krishna says, when you are conscious of the divine, he says, you will not fall prey because this is a game of Prakriti. Prakriti is waiting to control us. We have seen the software is already installed inside of us. We have to now learn how to bypass the software. If there are bugs, we'll have to remove them on our own. We have no choice. We cannot choose, I don't want Prakriti software inside of me. No, each of us have Prakriti. We cannot do anything about it, but we'll have to work with it and remove all that is unnecessary in it, and then we will be able to efficiently use our instruments as well. Let us go on. Krishna goes on, Buddhi Jnana Sammoha Kshama Satyam Damashama Sukham Dukkham Bhavo Bhavo Bhayam Cha Bhayam Evacha. Knowledge, intelligence, and a clarity bereft of pretenses. Forgiveness, truth, and a control over mind and senses. Joy and sorrow, creation and destruction, the state of being fearless, and also fierce sensation. What is Krishna doing? He is talking about qualities. It is actually a continuation. Two shlokas are linked. I'll look at the fifth shloka and probably we'll look at 4 and 5 together again. So fifth shloka is Ahimsa Samata Tushtihi Tapo Danam Yasho Yashaha Bhavanti Bhava Bhutana Matta Eva Pruthak Vidhaha. Also equanimity, contentment and charity, non-violence, fame, infamy and austerity. These are but manifestations arising from me only, from me alone, all objective qualities of my own. So Krishna says these qualities are manifestations from me. So he's talking about knowledge first. Knowledge, intelligence, a clarity, a great vivek buddhi, ability to see. Sometimes we wonder how did this person get this clarity or in this precious situation. Well, that is again, they say the person has got an awakened vivek buddhi, that person's ability to discriminate what is right and wrong at all times. Well, that forgiveness, they say this is also, it is divine. Where is human, to forgive is divine, it is said. Indeed, that is a divine quality. Truth, holding on to the truth in a world that sometimes seems to support falsehood, that is the biggest challenge. But only because you hold on to the truth can protect you. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. So that satya dharma must never be forgotten. That also is there. Control over mind, control over senses, joy and sorrow. So both have their role to play in life, recognizing both with equanimity, creation and destruction, all of them. State of being fearless, abhaya, that is a great feeling. That is a great, what we say, most people in the sadhana whose conscience are clear, they're not afraid of anything. So fearlessness, that is exactly one more divine quality inside of human beings. But also fierce sensation. Now, what is this meaning then? A fierce sensation. Sometimes there's a difference between what is being adventurous and there's something called being foolhardy. It's like in one Gurukul, one guru was talking about Brahma inside everybody and he said, this supreme Nainam Chindati Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha, this is inside of you, this Brahma is inside of you. And now this young Shishya is like, great, I have Brahma inside of me. Now nothing's going to happen to me. And he is so confident. He goes onto the street and he says, Brahma is inside of me, is what his realization. And he has full confidence in his teacher. So he goes on the road. But Now, while he's going, suddenly one man comes running in front of him and he says, "No, no, there's a wild bull which is chasing this side, raging onto this road. Go away, don't come on this path." He just says, "Huh, what a silly person. He doesn't know Brahma is here inside. This wild bull will do nothing to me." Now, this person goes a little further towards that direction only. The wild bull comes and does what is the dharma of a wild bull. It's going to hit. That is exactly that happens. And then this child gets injured. Now he's badly injured and he's not just injured, he's got hurt in his heart also. What my guru told me, Brahma is inside of me and now Brahma has got hurt. What is this? I don't understand this logic. He goes injured to his teacher and he's angry at his teacher also for teaching him wrong. What nonsense, this Brahma is there, I'm hurt. And the teacher first consoles him, starts tending to his wounds and then says what happened and he narrates the entire story. Then he says, "Now what?" The Guru says, "What? You did not listen to the Brahma who came and told you to move away from the road. Only one Brahma you were recognizing who is inside of you. Brahma had come in front of you in form of another person who was telling you not to go there." So basically, this we need to have that ability to understand what needs to be feared, what needs not. Fearlessness is there, but then our body is made of what? Our body is made of bones which are going to break, skin that is going to bleed. So we'll have to take care of that. Is also a dharma of shariram adyam khalu dharma sadhanam. So your dharma of your body also, what is perishable must be protected. You must understand what is vulnerable. You cannot remain I am so powerful and everything. You have to have no fear. When you have nothing wrong, you have done nothing wrong, there need not be any fear inside. But this also one must understand. So all of these qualities, becoming conscious of it, Krishna is saying. Samatha is one more. Contentment, always state of bliss. Truptatma, they say. That is the state of a person who is in that state of bliss all the time. Charity, doing dana also is important. Non-violence. Krishna is telling non-violence to Arjuna. Now, what do you think is Krishna being contradicting here when he's talking about importance of non-violence? Yes, what is the aim of non-violence? Because Gita, they say Gita talks about non-violence, but then what is Arjuna doing? He is not going and reading out poetry to Duryodhana to change Duryodhana's heart. He is going to take his arrow, poetry will come out of his Dhanusha only. So, what is the meaning of non-violence here? Anybody? What do you think could be the reason? Or if is the soldier engaging in violence when he is doing his duty? Anybody, what do you think? Yes, please. This ahimsa, meaning of ahimsa.
Soldier is not engaging in violence because that is his dharma.
Is dharma, no, is protecting. Or if we have pests,
Yeah,
if
like
we have,
if I go and take a knife and that is
yeah,
violence.
okay,
That's not my dharma. I am not a soldier.
yes, is it not? So if pests are in the house and you call pest control to prevent some diseases because of the pests, are you engaging in violence or are those people engaging in violence? No. When doctors attack the cancer cells with chemicals for chemotherapy, is that violence? No, it is not, is it not? But they are killing the cells. So what is it? There is the question of dharma comes into play. So ahimsa, meaning of ahimsa is Arjuna will have to, because you see soldiers have to do their duty, but when they get attached to that, in that they get some kind of rajasic force inside of them. They get addicted to it. Then the real problem starts, where the finger becomes more trigger friendly. Civilians start getting injured. The day one civilian is injured from the soldier's hand, that becomes violence. It is when it is done consciously, it is unforgivable, because unconsciously sometimes the doctors operate on patients and sometimes patients don't make it despite the best intention. That can be forgiven, but when consciously done, it is called murder by a doctor also when he consciously does that. And that some of them have been caught doing that wrong deeds and then they are not forgiven, because that's not so. Ahimsa is understanding exactly how much force, how much is required only, and not using more than necessary for the holding or dharma. That's one meaning which we can draw. Yes, please, somebody wants to add something.
Protecting dharma is ahimsa.
So wonderful, Dr. Pushpaji. That is ahimsa, is it not? How much
Yes.
himsa can be avoided by protecting dharma, and how much mindless destruction can be prevented? It has to be done. The soldier has to do that job of protecting dharma. Yes, indeed. Hari Om. Thank you. We'll continue. So this fame, fame. So again, great fame is also a quality of the divine. But along with fame, sometimes people get notoriety also. And that also Krishna is saying, no, look at them with samatha. These are all opposites. But look at them with austerity, fame, infamy. These are all qualities which are just manifesting from my one divine nature in this world, is what he is saying. Let us go on. Maharshayah saptah purve चत्वारो मनवस्तथा मद्भावा मनसा जाता येषाम लोक इमाः प्रजाः. The heavenly Saptarishis, the seven sages, as well as the four Manus of the ancient ages, they are but creations of my impulses mental, and from them arose all living beings in the physical. So Krishna says, even the Saptarishis, the great Manus, all of them have originated from my divine existence only. That's because of my impulse. From me it has originated, and that has resulted in manifestation. Ekoham Bahusyami was the first. Somewhere there was a stirring in consciousness. From the avyakta, suddenly from the akshara came the akshara. One became many, and then that great manifestation, differentiation, division, all started after that. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tatvatah so vikampena yogena yujjate natra sanshayah. He who understands my principles divine and know this all-pervading truth that is mine, united in yoga with me he becomes one. About this there are doubts none. So you realize the divine, you become one with the divine. There is no doubt about it, is what Krishna says. You understand the principle, the fundamental principle of existence. He goes on further. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the birth of all living things that can exist or to be, and their growth only proceeds from me. For I set their development into motion. Knowing this, the wise love me with the highest emotion. Krishna is saying, I am the birth of all living things. Their growth also comes and goes through me only. It is I who am setting this development into motion. And knowing this, the wise love me with the highest emotion. The greatest emotion is got by the wise. Knowing this is what he says. Because you love the divine, you will start adoring the divine all the time. This is what Krishna is saying. When you recognize the divine, that's everything you say, oh, wow, this is beautiful, this is divine only. I can see divine's presence. I can see the stamp of divine. I can see the presence of divine. In the best fragrance, people suddenly get conscious of a divine presence. Sometimes people get fragrances in place, there are no fragrances which are used also. That is, they are conscious, and their growth goes and it goes towards the divine only. He goes on, Mat chitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So this is sometimes a problem for those who don't believe in the divine. Because now what is going to happen? What you think of all the time, that is only going to appear in your speech. Then it's like people who are atheists sometimes get annoyed. Why is this person attributing everything to the divine? But then that is not the problem of that person also. What can this person do? Wherever that person is going to go, he is going to see the divine. She is going to see the divine, or that's going to come out in their words, accidentally or consciously. Because with their consciousness flooded with that of mine, with their lives surrendered completely to the divine. It is a complete surrender of the life. There's a beautiful arti by Jagjit Singh. Mera jivan teri sharan. Means my life has been offered to you only. The entire arti has been given as my life is the ahuti I have placed. So this is the one. Their consciousness is flooded by the divine consciousness. And they have held back nothing. Everything has been offered to the divine. With me only in their dialogues they go around. Contentment and joy only in their lives can be found. This makes it adds to the irritation. One is they keep talking about God. Next is they're always happy and they're always having that happiness. That becomes more irritating for somebody like Hiranyakashipu. They don't recognize it. They wonder, why is it my child is talking about God all the time? I don't understand it. I had told the teachers explicitly not to teach anything. And look at it. And then finally, then he goes on to the extent of is summoning Narsimha only. Now we need not wait for that day of Narsimha's arrival. But this aspect is, we cannot blame if we see somebody talking all the time of the divine. It's alright, you can watch it a little bit of a pinch of salt or pepper, but need not get annoyed, because It's not a fault of that person. That person is now conscious, and after he's got conscious, what else is going to come out of that mouth? The same thing is going to come. Beautiful moment also, Sri Hari, Jai Hari, and that only comes out of the mouth because that is the state of the mind. He goes on further. तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपायन्ति ते. So this is dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Meaning I give that buddhi also. Dadami buddhi yogam. I'll give them that knowledge. I will give them that wisdom in those who are not having wisdom also. That is again the power of Shraddha we can see. Talents which are not present start manifesting in individual. Faculties which were not existing or which were considered impossible or improbable in the individual, they start manifesting, and that is why they say Krupa, Yat Krupatamaham Mande Paramananda Madhava. You are the source of bliss because your Krupa can make anything happen. To those, he says, to those yearning for a constant state of union with the purest intensity, seeking my communion, to them I give yoga's understanding that sets them apart and unites them with me, and they never again part. So this is the thing. He says the uniqueness in that individual also appears because of the divine only. I'll give them that understanding of yoga. I will give them that buddhi, and suddenly that person will start appearing different. The person is the same, but the divine's presence has entered into that individual, and that unites the person with the divine, and they never again part, is what Krishna says. So it is like a consciousness once realized which will not be forgotten. It is like that realization comes which is not going to leave them again. He goes on, तेषाम् एवानुकम्पार्थम् अहम् अज्ञानजं तमः नाशयामि आत्मभावस्थो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता. So this great lamp is lit inside, is what Krishna is saying. Now my question is, why do we light lamps? What is the significance of lighting of lamps? In many households we do light lamps, is it not? Why is the lamp lit? What is the significance? Or is it just some ritual we do because my father told me, my grandfather told him, his grandfather told him? Is that just some ritual we are doing, or it has some significance as well? Or do we have some bhava also when we do that? Or what is it? Lighting of the lamp.
To dispel the darkness?
Yes, okay. To dispel darkness is one thing, yes. And evening times it is dark. But then we have lights also at home. Why do we need a lamp to dispel the darkness here? I think Bhamaji, you are on mute. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Internal darkness.
Okay, internal tamasoma jyotirgamaya. We want to go to that light. That light is symbolic. It is a symbolic act of the light of, you see, the darkness which is there inside, that must disappear. And sometimes people say even meditate upon the flame. Watch the flame. That is itself a very special type of meditation as you look at it. The flame moving upwards. It's something like our aspiration inside of our heart also. It always moves upwards, and it is purified. You want it to become still. So your mind is frustrated and flustered. Even at that time, if you just quietly try to focus on the flame, your mind will slowly, your thoughts which are flickering will start calming down. This aspect of lighting the lamp is an important aspect. We say God, we are inviting Goddess Lakshmi. See, this is a nice place to reside. Please welcome. Like we said, Atithi, we are inviting Goddess only as in Atithi. The place is cleaned and we are inviting the divine presence. A consciousness is changed in the atmosphere also when it is lit. A beautiful agarbatti is lit along with that, along with the butter lamp. It creates a different atmosphere. Great harmony is created in the atmosphere as well. And it is also a symbolic act aspiring for the darkness inside of the individual. First is recognizing there is darkness inside of the individual, and next is seeking for that darkness to disappear. So many factors are there behind a simple act of lighting a lamp. So what about this lamp which Krishna is talking about? Well, yes, please. Anybody wants to add something, you're welcome, or I'll continue. No. Is it? Hariom?
I want
Yes,
I
ji.
want to say something.
Yes, ji.
Uh, uh, mm, it is my
Okay.
mm,
Okay, ji.
I want to say कि when we can I speak in Hindi?
Okay, ji. Okay.
जब हम कोई लैंप जलाते हैं, अगरबत्ती कुछ जलाते हैं, So I think we have no idea about the Supreme God, because there is no physical identity, no
Hmm.
volume. We just want to show कि this is the sign,
जी
and I am sitting in front of you,
जी
and you are God for me.
जी जी जी. So that is us. We are recognizing, and it becomes a pratik or a symbol of divine only. Is it not? The lamp is also worshipped with that much respect only. Is it not, Ji?
जी जी.
Yeah, perfectly. Yes, yes, we bring that. It is something like you bring that consciousness. You reaffirm the consciousness of the divine in the form of the lamp. Also, that is the beauty of our Sanatan Dharma. In symbols, we can bring about. Okay, Diptiji wants to add something.
I want to ask, when we take Aarti, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the lamp, we take that, and why do we do that? What is the significance of that?
When we do what? Sorry.
When we say na Aarti le lo, as in you
Yes, you're calling upon the grace of that, the warmth of
yeah,
the. If you keep your hand on top, you receive a little bit of that warmth, and then what do you do with that warmth? You touch it on our eyes and onto our. We are trying to summon that grace inside of us also through the act, Diptiji. There are so many significances. Probably when we go studying, we will see. One participant actually, she did not like any of the rituals. She was strongly against rituals. And Krishna says, "Do what you please." He doesn't say you must do it or you don't do it. So we said it's all right if you are not feeling forced about doing it and don't want to do it, don't do it. But after the sessions, she herself sent me a book stating the significance of rituals, which she started identifying. So there is something inside of all those. But becoming conscious is important. So now this is interesting. What is Krishna talking about? Which lamp is he talking about? Where is this lamp present? If we can find this lamp, we can probably get it or purchase it and use it also because Krishna has recommended. Let's see what it is. For them, my compassion begins to stem. Who is he talking about? Those who are constantly seeking in their sadhana, they're trying to become one with the divine, with sincere bhakti. For them, my compassion begins to stem from within the self that resides within them. So from where is the Ashirvad coming? It's not from the skies. From inside only, it is later on the address of the divine is going to be told. It is with the door number. The divine is present inside only. Where is the divine present will be told later on in the Gita. But from that existence inside only, that compassion begins to stem. Then he says, the lamp of knowledge within them I ignite, and the ignorance of darkness disappears by my light. So this lamp, we don't have to purchase it, and we don't even have to worry about lighting it. Krishna's headache. He has to come and light that lamp. When you have created the right ground, Krishna himself will light that lamp for us. Imagine Deva himself coming to light that lamp. He says, I will bring that, I'll give that knowledge. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. There are many cases of people having unbelievable wisdom, and from where has it come? People don't know. There's a case of one very interesting poetess, Bahina Bai Chaudhary in Maharashtra. She was very well known. She's no more, of course, long back, an old story. But why is she still remembered? Well, she was an illiterate poetess. She was a widow at a very young age. She had children to take care of. So her entire job was an entire and very like very difficult monetary situations, absolute poverty. So she had to go and work in the fields. No education, no chance for Deva Darshana, no chance for visiting any Devale. What can this lady do? Well, no, bhakti can be there anywhere, is it not? Krishna has told your love you can channel towards the divine. And she started, and she used to sing. She used to sing whatever she understood. And who taught her? The trees taught her, the soil taught her. She had actually said in one poem, for me, oh Panduranga, the Gita has come from the soil. Tilled in the rain, it has been tilled in the soil, and rain has made it come. Finally, it has emerged for me. Or she says, the wind is whispering in my ears, the coming and going of the divine. This was her experience because now God plants wisdom, and she went on to she was not even what we can say in pure Marathi. She would not speak in that. It was Varhadi, a dialect, which is considered different. So she would say, Maji Mayo Sorosoti, Maza Shikavite Boli. So now Saraswati is, we say the invocation of Saraswati with Saraswati. She would say Soroswati. Now, do you think Mother Saraswati got angry with her? You have pronounced my name wrong. So now you are going to get the shrap of that, or you're going to get wrong consequence. No, instead, she said Saraswati, and she was right. Mazi Maya Saraswati, Maza Shikavete Boli. She teaches me. She has given me this tongue to speak. And the way she started, the way she spoke, my God, it was so brilliant. people would have thought, and her era, people would have thought her to be some crazy lady singing something and doing her works. But her son, one child, actually felt this is what she is speaking is important. Let me write down something. So he wrote that in the form of a book, and that was all. She went away. She passed away afterwards. Nobody knew about her. But that book remained with her son, who later on went on to study and become he got connected with this great educationalist, Acharya Atre. And that time he said, my mother's book is, I have written a few of her songs, which she used to sing. And that person, when he got the book, he stood up. He felt this is literal gold. He could not understand it. And you won't believe now, Yashwantrao Chauhan University is having it as a syllabus, and people are even doing PhD on his works. At that, and look at this. And where has she learnt? And she was like, Are Sansara, Sansara. Life, Sansara is like making bhakri. Bhakri, how people make it's a type of roti. Why? When you are making initially on the first, your hands get burnt. Afterwards, they stop because as you go on. So, with simple everyday examples, with everyday life, and she would have songs, and they were called songs of Bahina Bhaiya, Bahina Bhainche Geet, or the songs of Bahina Bhai. Or that was something which is coming from anywhere. Krishna says, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. This is another practical example. Buddhi will come. This is no formal education also. Any corner of the world, any portion, anybody, if their consciousness, it's like your antenna needs to be connected with the right channel frequency. For that, sadhana is required, and for the best sadhana is Krishnarpanam. Nothing more than that. Best chance to connect with the highest frequency. And he says, for those who are taking these efforts to realize, he says, I feel that compassion comes from within only. The one inside of them suddenly says, yes, he has done enough, now is the time to give the blessing, let that person rise now. And then Krishna says, I come and I light that flame, that lamp appears different and people recognize the presence. He says, that knowledge which sets a person apart, that also has come from the divine only, is what Krishna says. We'll just stop with two more shlokas of Arjuna. We will see if this is Arjuna or this is somebody else who is wearing Arjuna's mask, because it looks like it's going to be a different person speaking, not the Arjuna that we know. Let us see these shlokas and we will see if it is, let us see what it is. Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. Now he is calling Krishna with all these praises. He says, Thou art the immaculate Brahman Supreme. Thou art the permanent one of the highest esteem. Thou art the divine Purusha, the supernal God. Unborn, thou art the all-pervading Lord. It's Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. You are that Param Dhama, you are the most Pavitra also, you are the Parabrahma, you are the Adideva. He is just going on and on. Almost we feel like clapping for Arjuna's transformation. What is this? Arjuna has changed so much. Let us see what he says further. We'll look at two shlokas and we'll stop here only. Ahustva mrushayah sarve devarshi naradastatha asito devalo vyasah swayam chaiva bravishi me. This the wisest of sages have thus said. When thy words they have sought to spread, Narada, Asita, Devala and Vyasa, the seers have portrayed. And O Lord, thou hast to me explained. He says, you are that Dev, you are the Adidev. That is why Vyasa, Narada, Asita, Deval, all these rishis, they are speaking and trying to spread your words. They have spoken so much. One small question. Did Arjuna suddenly get a high from Narada or Vyasa? Did all of them come in front of him right now? Or it is something he has seen them before only. But that time he did not fully connect to it, or he did not fully believe, they are all like poets do a little exaggeration. These rishis also might have been doing is what he might have thought. But now this is a realization and he is not having any doubt. He says, now I understand why they have talked about you like this. Now I recognize why you are great, why Vishnu Sahasranama, because of this Sahasra Gunas, or maybe more of those qualities than that. He goes on. We'll look at one more shloka and then we'll just stop here. Sarvameta dhrutam manye yanma madasi keshava nahite bhagavan vyaktim vidur devan addanava. Whatever it is spoken by thee, for my mind, that is only the truth that can be. But, O Lord gracious, neither God nor Titan, about thy manifestations can they enlighten. He says, now you are the pramana, he says. You are the pramana, you are the evidence. I don't need anything else. What you speak, he says, is only truth. But he says, even gods don't know about you, even the asuras don't know about you. You are like that. And for my mind, he says, for me, Krishna, what you say only is the truth. Now we'll stop here, but my question is, I'll say the prayer and then we will look at the question after that. We'll conclude with the Shanti mantra. We'll see. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyanto, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tatsat, Krishna Mande, Jagadgurum. Yes, Hari Om. Ji, so the question is, Arjuna was the same person who asked Krishna, how can I believe you? Krishna, you are confusing. Krishna, you are talking about two different things. Krishna, I cannot believe that you taught the sun. Don't say anything to me. How can I trust you? How can I believe you? I don't understand you. Now, this same Arjuna is saying, Krishna, whatever you say from your words, that is evidence for me. I do not question it. What do you think is there in Arjuna right now? Has he got transformed? Yes. Do we see a complete transformation in Arjuna from what he was before? Yes or no?
I think he's more conscious now.
He's
and
more
become
conscious. He's got transformed. Okay. But Rakeshji, one question. Do you have grandchildren, Rakeshji?
No, I don't.
Okay, children? You've had children? Okay. So while raising your child, when the child was child was very young, if your child suddenly behaves very nicely, did you trust it, or you felt there is something fishy?
It's always something behind the message.
Something behind that, is it not? So if you see, is it not? So Arjuna has been different so long, and a sudden transformation is always doubted. So Arjuna has told, he's like Param Dhava, Param Dhama, Param Pavitram, you are everything. You are the Adi Deva. All of this is saying to Krishna. So do we think we can suspect something Arjuna is up to something? Rakeshji, what do you think? Your sixth sense.
I mean, example of the child and I guess Arjuna, he's more kind of conscious in with his experience and what he may kind of learn.
Yes, so probably it's not he's not up to anything else. He has no ulterior motive. Okay.
Because
Okay.
that's kind of he made him to more aware, conscious, and more divine in the
Okay.
process, right?
All right. So he's not wanting anything specially like that. He's just wanting to know more, but he's not trying to have another motive, is what we can see, is what Rakesh ji is saying. All right. Anybody else has a similar view or a different view? Because big transformation, always it's when sudden transformations happen, it's like, what is up?
When my son comes and tells me nice things like, Baba, I love you and all those and stuff. And then I tell him, what is that you want?
What do you want?
Okay.
Okay.
That he was just screaming at me.
Okay, okay.
So
So,
for Arjuna, we can say it as Rakesh said, yes, he's conscious now. But I think yet he wants to know something.
something. So behind this talk, there is something else also.
Because as Krishna said that the divine is in everybody. And
Yeah.
of course then divine is in Arjuna also. But then maybe he would want to know how to identify
Or okay.
maybe more deeper
Something. So this Pavitram, he is meaning it. He is not saying like when your child says the child loves you, does not mean he does. He's just doing it for a wrong reason. He must be. But yes, behind that, so there is something probably behind Arjuna. We will see that in tomorrow's session. What is it? Because cat is going to come out of the bag soon. Yes, please, Pushpaji, Dr. Pushpaji. Yes, please.
Because of the love and affection, they may console us.
And with that, they will use it as leverage to get their work done. Is it not?
And console us, they may do like that.
To get their way. Yes, yes. Okay, let us see if this is Arjuna's. He's expressing his love for Krishna, his adoration for Krishna, and is he expecting something in return? Krishna has been telling Mam Phaleshu Kadachana. But in now Arjuna's behavior, what is he up to? We will see. Because Arjuna is not going to become complete yogi. It's going to happen. Transformation will take place. It is like understanding has to become, imbibed and become a realization afterwards. So now Arjuna is hearing. He's probably relating to also. but is he realizing is one question. So we'll see tomorrow then. We will see what Arjuna is up to. Is he up to something? Because now he said, for me, Krishna, your word is the pramana. What you speak is itself everything for me. I don't need anything else. So is he going to make Krishna speak some things which he want to hear? Is that what Arjuna wants? Let us see. So all right then. Yes,
Maybe
please.
it's like Arjuna wants to ask Krishna what he should do.
Yes, Ji.
Like direct me and
All right,
say
Ji.
give
Let
me
us
what
see.
I want.
Exactly.
Your
Let us see.
words.
Ji. Let us see. Yes, Ji. Hari Om.
Feeling some kind of a hope.
Hope. Hope.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think now
His
just thinking that hopefully you'll give me an answer for my problem.
Yes, and it is so beautiful also. It's like he's now conscious of the divine presence, and now he's like, if now divine is with me, now I can let me take this opportunity, and because not this is such a great opportunity, because this opportunity when it is there, you must encash it, and nobody can encash it better than Arjuna. Arjuna does it the best way all this long. Even after saying Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam, we see Arjuna asking, and Krishna, you have to. There was a Dadagiri, you have to dispel my every doubt. So he's doing it, probably he's doing the right thing. If we also find Krishna, we'll have to, squeeze. Damleji says you have to squeeze knowledge out of the person. It is like little head hair on the forehead only. But we have eyebrows or anything. You just pull out knowledge when you get that opportunity. Arjuna is doing that. Let us see what Krishna is going to grant Arjuna. How is Arjuna going to give out his request now? But okay, so maybe not. Arjuna has actually got transformed, or he has got transformed and also is expecting something. We will see that in the remaining shlokas of this adhyaya. We are entering into the 10th adhyaya. We have actually completed 50% of the Gita. We are now in the second half of the Gita. Hari Om Ji. Hari Om Ji. Hare Krishna. Hari Om. Hari Om Ji. Hari Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
धन्यवाद जी. Hari Om Ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om Ji.
Hari Om Ji. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om Ji.